Dragon Ball Daima finally gives the fans what they want, and even I have to admit, it's pretty friggin' awesome.
Powerful Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. Dragon Ball Daima has had its ups and it's had its downs, but there's no denying that this episode right here is an absolute blast to watch. It gave me exactly what I wanted to see. Goku and all of his friends transformed into adults and utilizing their brand new transformations to take down a crazy powerful villain. It seems like pretty stock stuff on paper, but it really does work in this episode. That being said, this one is far from perfect in my opinion, but that doesn't really have to do with Vegeta or Goku. Everything they do in this episode is really satisfying to see. Vegeta in particular, simply because, who doesn't want to see Vegeta utilize Super Saiyan 3 in his adult form taking down Goma? It's one of the best parts of this entire episode, and it all ends with an amazing cliffhanger of Goku going through all of his Super Saiyan transformations leading up to the very big reveal of his adult form in Super Saiyan 4, and it's just got me really hyped for the final episode of the series. No, most of my umbrage actually comes from the storyline that is given to us from Glorio and Dr. Arinsu, because to me, this was one of the most important aspects of this episode. Most people are going to be talking about those Super Saiyan transformations, but the fact of the matter is, a lot of Daima has been leading up to this moment. The buildup of the reveal of why Glorio even works for Arinsu in the first place. There was a lot of hinting at the fact that maybe he was being strung along by her, maybe he was being blackmailed by her in some way, and I was expecting a little more of a deeper explanation behind it, but they practically sweep it under the rug in this episode, to the point where it's actually kind of not that satisfying. Really, ultimately what happens at the beginning of the episode is that we learn that Glorio uses his wish to transform Goku and his friends back into an adult. This pisses off Arinsu, to the point where maybe you think she was going to do something kind of drastic like, I don't know, kill the guy, punish the guy in some sort of fashion, but considering that she wants Goma defeated and now there's a means to actually do it, she manages to just sort of let all of that hatred go and just decides to straight up fire Glorio. And why was Glorio working for Arinsu in the first place? Well, it's actually just a throwaway line about the fact that she saved him from the third demon world and brought him to work with her. That's basically it. Basically, they had different ideologies, they had a disagreement, and that's the end of all of that. There's not really that much more to it, and I don't know, that just left me kind of disappointed. I was just expecting so much more from Glorio's story, but ultimately, that's just all it is. He just ends up being the weird, typical demonic Han Solo that we've seen since the beginning of the series, and he's been influenced by Goku and all of his friends. And it's almost as if they didn't even know what to do with this storyline, to the point where they're like, oh crap, we got so swept up in Goku and Vegeta utilizing these Super Saiyan transformations, we forgot to give Glorio any sort of story. That being said, you're not even really going to care about this stuff at the end of the day, especially when you get Vegeta going Super Saiyan 3 and Goku going Super Saiyan 4. The bulk of this episode is actually dedicated to Vegeta battling against Goma, which is really great to see because, like I said, we've been seeing them as kids for the entire series, so it's great to finally see them go all out. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that the Vegeta Super Saiyan 3 sequence is nothing short of satisfying. Super fast, super fluid, amazing punch scenes, and probably some of the best action direction that I've seen from the Dragon Ball anime series. This is really a great looking episode, and Vegeta in Super Saiyan 3 form is really cool the way that he fights. I love the way that he's always crossing his arms, being so overconfident as he's just beating the ever-living snot out of Goma. And no, Goma doesn't really win me over that much more in this episode, but I still have to admit it's very satisfying to watch this asshole get his comeuppance. But ultimately, even with Super Saiyan 3, Goma is just so stupid powerful. This Tertian Oculus, the third eye of the demon realm, basically has got to be one of the strongest MacGuffins of the entire Dragon Ball series, as no matter what they throw at this guy, he just manages to brush it off and continuously heal himself. This third eye is practically broken. Vegeta straight up hits this guy point blank with a final flash, and he just sort of wipes his shoulders off like it's no big deal. Luckily, Piccolo's like, hey, I know we like showboating here, but maybe we should take this guy down. It could be really bad if we don't team up. So Goku decides to team up with everybody, and they even get to learn from Arinsu that apparently the secret to taking the eye out of Goma's head is to hit him in the back of the head 3 times. It's a little ridiculous, and I have a feeling that Goku could probably do it himself. But, you know, power of friendship, we gotta do all that stuff. And it's basically just a big build-up to eventually Goku going into his Super Saiyan 4 form, which, as an adult, not gonna lie, looks really freaking great. The entire transformation sequence in this episode, not just 4, but also Vegeta 3, is really awesome looking in this episode. Again, this is definitely an episode which is a little more style over substance, but let's face it, this is all what we've been kind of wanting in the first place. There is also one joke in this episode, which is just such a Dragon Ball style joke, if you know what I mean. Basically, everybody's afraid that Vegeta is going to end up exerting all of his power and might even end up getting hurt because they're all going to have to team up. And Bulma essentially threatens Vegeta with the fact that if he doesn't team up with everybody, she's never going to take a bath with him again. And this is followed by him immediately losing his transformation and deciding to work with everyone. And I do sympathize with Vegeta. There's no way that you want to give up bath time with your special lady. But this is then followed by the scene of Goku confronting Goma and going through his transformation sequences. This entire sequence actually is very reminiscent of when he battled against Majin Buu, showing off all the various Super Saiyan forms. And they really did make it seem like 3 was going to be the pinnacle. That was, of course, until he decided to become Super Saiyan 4, which I need to mention, the name of that transformation is not dropped in this episode. They could call it something else, but according to all of the leaked things that we've seen and some of the concept art of Dragon Ball Daima, this is indeed Super Saiyan 4. Now, what sort of effect this is going to have on the future of Dragon Ball is going to be an interesting one, as from what I can tell in this episode, he doesn't necessarily need Neva to go through this transformation. He sort of just uses it himself, but they're really going to have to explain away at the end of the series, like why he never uses this form in Dragon Ball Super, especially seeing as if he seems to have access to it. I have a feeling hopefully they will explain that it has something to do with either the Demon Realm or Neva himself, but fact of the matter is, right now in the storyline, Goku can simply just transform up to Super Saiyan 4. And again, I mean, the canon of Dragon Ball has literally just been messed with 1,000 times, so it's not really that surprising, but I just want to really know how they're going to handle this. And of course, the biggest question in the air is, are we ever going to get a fusion in this freaking series? There's no way that one episode back when they introduced the fusion bugs, they put so much emphasis on it, just trying to show, oh, this is going to be a special thing. We're going to see some sort of fusion in the next episode, right? I mean, it's got to happen. If it doesn't happen, I think people are going to be pretty disappointed. I mean, the obvious answer, of course, is that we're going to get Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. Now, this would, of course, mean that Vegeta's going to have to get this transformation, or maybe they're just going to say, screw it, we're just going to make him fuse, and they're going to utilize the power that was given to Goku. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Vegeta could just go over to Neva and be like, hey, man, could you give me some of that Super Saiyan 4 juice, too? But let's get to the brass tacks. This episode's all about the action, and it certainly delivers on pretty much every single front. Vegeta using Super Saiyan 3 is really awesome to see, as ridiculous as the big hair actually looks. And like I said, the entire transformation sequence at the end of Goku working his way up to Super Saiyan 4 is really awesome. I can imagine that the Dragon Ball GT fans are really loving this. There might even be some that might not even like it, though, considering that, in a way, this sort of like does away with everything that Dragon Ball GT did, considering this is basically a soft remake/reboot of that series. But still, I mean, it just looks so good the entire time, it's hard not to get jacked up about how great it really looks. I really loved this episode despite some of its flaws. A lot of that is mostly just because of the action, but I can't wait to see how all of this is going to potentially wrap up and to see maybe there is a potential future for more Dragon Ball Daima. There is the potential that we could see more of this. We could see more adventures of Goku and his friends utilizing these brand new abilities, exploring new worlds. There is, of course, a little more time before Dragon Ball Super even happens, and not to mention, there's still a bunch of characters we never even saw from this series. I mean, is anybody still curious about what's going on with Gohan? I mean, we haven't seen him at all in this series. I can only imagine the weird stuff he went through being a kid for a while, and now he's just suddenly an adult back on Earth. I don't know, that's a discussion for another day. What I will say is this episode, man, it is just a visual tour de force, and something that all Dragon Ball fans should definitely check out. And I'd love to get your thoughts about it in the comment section below, and what you guys are hoping to see from the big finale of Dragon Ball Daima. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay dandy, baby.